Hello dear students, I am Samir Velankar. I welcome all of you to this video on the topic equivalence of two FD sets. We are still learning normalization theory, and in the previous video we solved some gate questions which helped us to find out candidate keys, isn't it? These were few questions we solved in the previous video. Now let's start a topic called equivalence of two FD sets. Before we learn the definition, just as written here, what do you mean by equivalence? You just straight away see an example here. We are given a table called R. R is the name of the table with four attributes A, B, C, D. And let's say that one person, somebody has defined FD set like this. This is the first FD set defined. Like A determines B, B determines C, and AB determines D. And I don't know why the other person has defined FD set like this on the same table. A determines B, B determines C, A determines C, and A determines D. Now on looking at these two FD sets, we call them as FD sets because these are set of functional dependencies on the table R. On looking at these two FD sets, we see that these two FD sets are different because all the FDs are not matching, although a few FDs are matching, agreed. Like A determines B, A determines B. It is there in both. B determines C, B determines C. It is there in both. But you see AB determines D. This third one, which is there in FD1, is not there in FD2, isn't it? And same goes with A determines C, which is there in FD2. It is there in second FD set. It's not there in the first FD set. So at first moment, you may feel that these two FD sets are different. But actually, both the FD sets are equivalent. Now, by equivalent, what we mean is that they are not exactly same, but they mean same. That means whatever meaning is represented by the first FD set, the same meaning, same semantic is given by second FD set also. If both the FD sets are same, then you can accept any one of them. Then it's your choice because anyway both have same meaning, same semantics. That's what we call it as equivalence. By equivalence, we don't mean that every FD in first FD set should match exactly the FD in the other FD sets. Although some of them like this can match, okay, but some of them may not match. But the meaning of this FD is there hidden somewhere in the second FD set. So that is what is equivalence of FD. Now, technically speaking, how you define equivalence of the two FD sets is that consider FD1 as shown in this example here. Consider FD1. There are many functional dependencies defined in FD1, correct? Now, if all these functional dependencies which are defined by FD1 can be derived by FD2, I repeat, all the functional dependencies which are present in FD1, if these dependencies can be derived and defined equivalently by FD2, then we say FD2 covers FD1. FD2 covers FD1 because FD2 can derive all the functional dependencies of FD1. We indicate this as FD2 covers FD1. I mean, whatever is there in FD1 is already there in FD2, either directly or indirectly. So we say FD2 is as good as a superset of FD1 because FD2 can derive everything which is defined in FD1. And if it is other way, suppose, let's say, whatever is there in FD2, whichever functional dependencies are there in FD2, you can see that in FD2, there are four functional dependencies. Now, if all these functional dependencies can be derived by using only FD1, if we use FD1 and all these dependencies can be derived or proved or defined, then we say FD1 covers FD2. We can represent this as FD1 covers FD2. What that means is whatever is there in FD2 is already indirectly there in FD1 because FD1 covers, it can represent all the functional dependencies of FD2. So we can say FD1 is superset of FD2, isn't it? So how do you read this first thing that is written? FD2 covers FD1. How do you read this second thing written? FD1 covers FD2. And suppose now both of them are true. A covers B and B covers A. Then we say FD1 is equivalent, semantically equivalent to FD2. That means both the FD sets have same meaning. Let's see what's written here in the definition again. Although now you know, let FD1 and FD2 be the two FD sets on the same relation R, that is same table R. If all FDs of FD1 can be derived from FDs present in FD2, then we say FD2 is a superset of FD1. FD2 covers FD1, we say. So whatever is there in FD1 can be derived by FD2. FD2 is enough to derive all this, whatever is there in FD2. And same is the case with if all the FDs of FD2 can be derived from FDs present in FD1, then we say FD1 covers FD2. And if both 1 and 2 are true, then we say FD1 is equivalent to FD2. All the three cases can be shown as a diagram. Look, if FD2 covers FD1, that's how you read this, isn't it? If FD2 covers FD1, then whatever is there in this inner set FD1 can be easily represented by FD2. It seems that whatever is there in FD1 is already there in FD2, isn't it? So FD2 is as good as superset of FD1. Same goes for FD1 covers FD2. If both are true, if 1 and 2, this both are true, then FD1 is equal to FD2. This entire thing becomes FD1 and FD2, both are equivalent. So suppose two FD sets are given, how do you prove that they are equivalent? Method is quite easy. You just see. We will read all these things later, but these are the two FD sets given, isn't it? In our example, on the same table R, we have been given two FD sets. I will just write it here again. FD1 given is A determines B, then B determines C. Okay, B determines C and AB determines D. This is the first FD set. And second FD set given is A determines B, but B determines C, but A determines C and A determines D. Now you want to prove that both of them are equivalent, isn't it? So first you prove that FD1 can be covered by FD2. Either way you can say, either way you can prove. But let's see whether FD2 can cover FD1 or not. What do you mean by that is whatever are the FDs in FD1 can be derived from FD2. That's the meaning, isn't it? Whatever are the FDs in FD1 can be covered or can be derived by FD2. So let's see. How do you prove that FD2 covers FD1? For doing this, we will take a functional dependency from FD1. Let's take A determines B. Look, I am circling here or marking here. Let's take this dependency, A determines B. Now the question is, can this FD be derived from FD2? A determines B. Can this, which is there in FD1, this dependency is there in FD1, can it be derived from FD2? Of course, yes, because you can see that it is readily present in FD2, isn't it? We are lucky here. So A determines B is given by FD1 and FD2 both. Okay. Now, let's take the another dependency, B determines C. Look what I am marking here, B determines C. Can it be derived by FD2 also? Yes, it is readily present again in FD2. Check that it is present really in FD2. So both these functional dependencies, first and second, can be derived by FD2. Now observe AB determines D. Check that the last dependency, AB determines D. Now starts the fun part. You see, AB determines D is not there in FD2 anywhere. We have A determines C. and we have A determines D, isn't it? But we don't have AB determines D. In that case, what we do is we find AB closure. AB closure using FD2. Check my word. Check my words. We have taken FD from FD1, correct? And we want to know, can this FD be inferred, be derived from FD2? So AB derives D. AB determines D is the FD. Left hand side is AB, isn't it? So we find left hand side's closure AB plus using only FD2. Obviously, AB plus will contain AB, definitely. And what will A and B bring in? You can see the FD2. From FD2, you can watch that B can bring in C, isn't it? So C joins. And you can also see A can bring in D. Observe this, A can bring in D. So D joins. That's it, that's it. Enough, enough. Don't find anything more, because it is understood that AB, left hand side, AB can determine D. Observe D is there in the closure. Observe D is there in the closure. That means FD2 can determine AB determines D. Are you understanding? Are you understanding? So what we did, AB determines D, this third dependency was not there directly in FD2, but we found AB closure using FD2, and we found, okay, AB closure contains D. That means AB can determine D using FD2. So all the three dependencies, A determines B, B determines C, and AB determines D, can be determined by FD2. What that means is we have proved enough that FD2 covers FD1. I hope you have understood. Yes, we have proved that FD2 covers FD1. Now, does FD1 cover FD2? I will rewrite FD1. FD1 given in the question is A determines B, B determines C, and AB determines D. And FD2 given in the question is A determines B, B determines C. Then we have been given A determines C and A determines D. Check this. These are the four FDs given in FD2. Now we want to prove that FD1 covers FD2. Suppose. What that means is every functional dependency given in FD2 can be derived from FD1, isn't it? So what we do, check this. We will take the first functional dependency from FD2, correct? And we ask, can this functional dependency of FD2 be derived by FD1? Oh yes, it is readily present over here. A determines B is there in both. Okay, the first one is proved. Let's take the second one. B determines C from FD2. Can this be derived by FD1? The first FD said, yes, it is very well present, isn't it? B determines C. Now let's take the third one, A determines C. A determines C. Can it be proved by FD1? Now notice, among the three FDs given in FD1, A determines C is not there directly, but it might be there indirectly, isn't it? So what do? A determines C. Check this FD. You want to know whether this can be inferred, this can be derived by FD1. So what you do is, using FD1, you find A closure. Left hand side is A determines C, isn't it? A determines C. So you find A closure. Now what will be A closure? In FD1, A closure will contain A. And notice A will bring in B because A determines B. Check this, what I am taking. So A will bring in B. Then B will bring C, isn't it? Correct? Because B is there in the closure. Now C will be there. That's it. That's it. Enough, enough, enough. Don't proceed. Don't waste your time. But it is enough that we have proved that A closure contains C. In which FD set? FD1. In FD1, A closure contains C. What that means is A can determine C. Look at this. Look at this, what I am taking. A determines C can be derived from FD1. I hope you are understanding. Let's take the last one. What is the last one? Last FD of FD2 is A determines D. Can this be derived? A determines D from FD1. Now you know what we are going to do. We are going to find A closure using FD1. A closure will contain A and A will bring in B because A determines B is given in FD1. then B will bring in C because B determines C is given in FD1. And the point is that A, B together, you see A, B together determines D in FD1. So D also joins the closure. That's it. That's enough. You see that A determines D. And from which FD set we found this? From FD1 we found. That means in FD1 also A can determine D. A determines D is there in FD2 and it is there indirectly in FD1 also. Then all the four dependencies of FD2 can be derived from FD1. So we have proved that FD1 covers FD2. And if we have proved both, then it means FD1 is equal to FD2. Unbelievable, isn't it? There's nothing to not believe it. Sorry for this word, but actually both FD sets look quite different. But actually both are equivalent. Both mean the same, isn't it? Because both can derive each other. That's what I have explained. That's what I have explained in this text. You can just pause the video and you can take down all this. This is what is the description, isn't it? If it is going out of screen, I'll just reduce the font a bit. This is better. Okay. And finally, we get FD1, FD2 is equal to FD1 because both cover each other. Okay. So now let's see one more example before we close this discussion. We have been again given two FD sets, FD1 and FD2. I'll increase the font now. Okay, that's better. Some text might be going out of screen, but don't worry. We don't need it at the moment at least. But then you see we have been given a table R2 with four attributes A, B, C, D again. And two functional dependency sets are there and we have been asked to prove are they equivalent. So let's first of all prove whether FD2 covers FD1. FD2 covers FD1 means take every dependency of FD1 and check whether it can be derived by FD2. So let's take A determines B, the first FD from FD1. A determines B. Now, can this A determines B be derived by FD2? Yes, very well, because A determines B is already there in FD2. Okay. Now, let's take the second dependency from FD1. Second dependency is B determines C, you observe. Let's see whether this can be derived by FD2. Can this be derived by FD2? Yes, very well, because B determines C is already there, isn't it, in FD2. Now, let's take the third dependency from FD1. FD1 has a dependency A determines C. Can this be derived by FD2? Now A determines C, is not there directly in FD2. Observe the three dependencies. We have A determines B, B determines C and A determines D. A determines C is not there, but it might be indirectly there. So what you will do in FD2, using FD2, you find A closure because the dependency you are talking about is A determines C. So the left hand side is A. And A closure of FD2 in FD2 will be A, B, C. C will be there in that closure. You watch. So that's enough. A closure contains C. That means A can determine C in FD2. That means indirectly A determines C is there in FD2. Although it is not directly there, it is there. So hence A determines C can be there in FD2, can be derived by FD2. Great. That means all the FDs of FD1 can be covered by FD2. So we have proved that FD2 covers FD1, isn't it? Now let's try to prove whether FD1 covers FD2. Is FD1 covering FD2? So let's take one by one dependencies of FD2. Let's take A determines B. It is there in FD2. Can it be covered by FD1? Oh yes, it is there in FD1 already, isn't it? So it is covered. Let's take the other one. B determines C. Can this B determines C covered by FD1? Oh yes, it is also there. You see both of them are present in both FD sets. Now let's take third dependency. A determines D. It is there in FD2, but can it be covered by FD1? Now you watch, out of the dependencies given in FD1, A determines D is not there directly here. But can it be derived? For seeing this, in FD1, we will find A closure. Because left hand side of the dependency we are talking about is A. and A closure is going to contain A. Observe FD1, correct? A will bring in B, correct? And B will bring in C. That's it. You see the FD1. In FD1, closure of A will be ABC. That means A closure does not contain D in FD1. So A does not determine D in FD1. Are you understanding? So this dependency, the last one of FD2, cannot be inferred by FD1. What that means is, although FD2 covers FD1, but FD1 does not cover FD2, So hence FD1 is not equivalent to FD2. I'll just reduce the font now, and you can pause the video and you can just go through what has been written here, isn't it? And the same text which I was talking about has been written here. And the last step you can see is that although FD2 covers FD1, but FD2 is not the subset. Opposite I have written, which is also correct, of FD1. So both are not semantically equivalent. I hope you have understood how to check whether the two FD sets are equivalent. Thank you very much.